what happens to our children? How do they get like this? Are they born bad? No. Can I say that in class? I want the children to know they're not born bad. Babies are not born bad. They're just born babies. Okay? So they have needs. And what do babies do? What do they need? What are some of the things babies need? Milk. Eye contact. Touch.
Sunglasses.
Right.
Diapers.
Yeah, they need their diaper changed. Right. A blanket. Yeah, different things. So, yeah, when a baby needs any of those things, well, how they let us know?
Right.
Yeah, they can't say, may I please? They just, at first they do kind of like, and then if you don't get there pretty quick, they go, wah! And every cell in their body is saying, I have a need. Okay? So then we come and we take care of their need. If they're hungry, we feed them. If they have a diaper situation, we clean them. You know, that urine burns through skin just the same as matches. It blisters it, and then it goes all the way through the flesh. It hurts when their diaper's not changed. Very, very painful. So then they learn to trust. They're like, wow, you understood my needs, and you took care of them. Then they learn to trust. So we meet the need, they learn to trust. This is where conscience development starts. During that first year, thousands of times this cycle goes on in a normal, loving environment. But some of our children didn't have that. Okay, in an orphanage, they cannot do it on this cycle. They have to do it by time. At 4 o'clock, all the children get fed. Okay, at 7 o'clock, all the children get fed, or whatever. It isn't when you ask. So our children cannot ask for their needs to be met. They're like, no sense asking, I won't. And one of the things I love to do at camp, I like to be at the flight check table during meals, especially the first couple meals. And the team will go and get the children when the parents call for a flight check and sit them across the table from me and whoever else is processing as well. But they sit them across the table from me, and I have the team get the child's plate of food from the parents. The parents have prepared the nurturing. They bring the plate of food and don't get the silverware. Okay, they get their food and their drink. And then I have a cup full of forks, knives, napkins, and spoons right next to me where I can reach it and the child can't. It is so interesting to watch the child. I just pull the plate. I keep visiting with a team member. I say, what happened? I tried to eat, my food was my face. Good job thinking of that. There you go. And then I just keep waiting, and then pretty soon they're like, yeah, what about those Broncos? Huh? I mean to tell you, at some point we're going to have a quarterback and a coach, but we don't. I know. So what happened? I was trying to eat my food with my hands. All right, good job remembering that. Telling the truth, I like it. So I just keep, and they try all kinds of stuff. And then some other child will say, may I please have a fork? Oh, sure. Good asking. There you go. Oh, could I please have a fork? Absolutely. Good asking. Here you go. May I please have a napkin too? Oh, yes. Good asking. There you go. May I please have a spoon too? Absolutely. You're getting so good at this. But, oh, the contortions they go through. They can see I've got them right there. We're not allowed to ask to use the bathroom or for any silverware in the flight. They tell their parents all kind of stuff. Right. We don't allow children to go to the bathroom because we really like cleaning up pee. You know, one of our team members that we love is Karen Platra. Karen Platra is from Canada. They're different up there. They're pretty amazing folks. She has some really nice yellow tennis shoes she bought for camp because she likes to do the little ones, and the little ones sit on your feet, okay? It's very calming for them, and we do a little left-right tap kind of a thing to help them calm. We'll talk about that later. But they pee on her shoes often. So she bought special camp shoes. She calls her pee shoes. Yeah, and they're yellow. And then I was looking at one day, and she had 2 of those glued on Google eyes on one of her shoes. I was like, Karen, Why do you have eyeballs glued onto your shoes? She says, well, the children always look at my shoes, and I want them looking at my eyes. So I thought I'd give them some eyes to make it easier. Okay. I mean, she just is playful and fun and silly. Anyway, pea shoes. Yes. All right. So this first year cycle gets interrupted. Oh, okay. Push the right button. Maternal ambivalence, when a mother does not want her baby before they're born, the babies know. They literally know what mom is thinking and feeling. They know this because they did a research study where they put cameras in the womb. I don't know who signed up for that, but they're walking around with cameras in there with their babies and stuff. And when the mom smoked cigarettes, the babies were like, ow, ooh, ah, and they would squeeze the muscles around their abdomen because it burns so bad. The chemicals from the cigarettes burn so bad that they wanted to cut out some of that pain. They didn't use their hands to do it, they used their abdominal muscles. And when they did that, they cut out some of the pain coming in, food coming in, waste material going out, and we see a lower birth rate in babies when mom smokes cigarettes because of the smoking. So what that has to do with attachment is that the mom thinking about having a smoke before she reached for something or did some physical movement that the baby would associate with incoming pain, thinking about having a smoke, the baby's prepared for the pain. So we know if they want to show them how beautiful the fountain is out in front of the hacienda, when they're born, they're like, all right, mom, you and me, where are we going to, their pupils are dilated, their eyes are huge, they're like, where are you? Where are we going to go? Let's see the world. When they're like, you know what? This is not a safe place. They're like, whoa, I don't want to look. I don't want to drink my milk. I'm not going to suck on that thing. And they're often called failure to thrive, especially if mom has seriously considered abortion or tried it. Okay, so in utero trauma can be drugs, it can be alcohol, it can be a lot of violence. The boyfriend's beating up mom, or she's in a car accident. One mom I worked with, both of her parents were killed in a tragic accident right before the baby was born, like when she was 8 months along. And then she wasn't emotionally available for the child because she was so traumatized. So that child had a lot of struggles. Emotional or physical trauma, especially between birth and age 3, whether it's a whole bunch of surgeries or being abused, being beaten. Abuse is not as destructive as neglect. Neglect is worse. Children in orphanages are consistently neglected. There's not enough arms to pick them up and rock them and hold them. And when a child is neglected, they tend to go inside themselves. Okay, they don't tend to lash out as much as they do hurt themselves. They end up doing the cutting and the different things like that. And I would not say that in a class with children in there. Okay, I don't say cutting. And back in the old days, we didn't have children who cut. But then some child started doing it and the word spread and they all shared the info in school or YouTube or somewhere. So now it's very popular and it's a huge issue. And parents are really desperate to get their child to stop hurting themselves. All right, so neglect. The children that are neglected are passive aggressive, passive resistant. And they have to move from passive aggressive, passive resistant to active aggressive, active resistant, which is honest. Okay, this is not honest. They just look good. I'll be happy to do that for you, mom. And then they don't. Okay, this is, I'm not going to do it and you can't make me. Okay, that's honest, so that we can deal with what's really going on with the child. Then they move to neurotic. And neurotic, they often get what we call a third lip. They lick down here or up there till it's raw because they're worried about trying to do it right, or I'm going to get in trouble for not doing it right. And they don't know exactly where okay is because they're still sorting it out. So then they move from neurotic to healthy. So that's the healing process. So the children that have been neglected have an extra step to move forward. And the parents always really appreciate it when their child who wasn't aggressive and violent is now very loud about it. They wanted to kill you before, they just weren't telling you. Now they're telling you, and that's healthier. Oh, this is good? Yes. If they're telling you, they're less likely to do it, okay? They found our children in foster care, their brains look the same as our Afghan veterans, our Iraqi veterans, war veterans. The same PTSD, children from foster care, where they've witnessed and yeah. All right. So maternal separation, being separated from birth mom, social services is masterful at that. Okay. But then there are birth moms where I live. I live between Vale and Aspen, and they like to go on a 10-day cruise and leave the baby with a nanny. They're going to come back and be sorry. And they don't realize there's a huge issue till they're about 9, and then we've got big issues. One of the really tough children I'm working with right now, they had him for a year and a half. From he was born, year and a half, then social services gave him to the uncle who abused him for, I think, 3 or 4 months, and then he came back to this same couple, and he is a tough, tough child. So once they're 4 or 5, they can handle being separated. If they've had that good initial bond, they can handle being separated for a period of time and come back, and it's okay. It's hard, okay, but they can bounce back. 3 and under, they don't understand why mom doesn't come back. They're little. So it's huge. Whether mom's on vacation or in the hospital, they don't know. Beth's mom had kidney disease, so she was in and out of the hospital quite a bit trying to stay alive. And one time she came home from the hospital and got down, oh, Bethy. And my daughter ran screaming the opposite direction. I'm sure it broke her mom's heart, but she's like, you left me, and yeah. So she was attachment disorder before her mom died. All right, ongoing pain. My son Adam, he had a great dad who loved him very, very much. His birth father. His birth mother died when he was 8 years old, but she, again, in and out of the hospital for many years, trying to stay alive to be with her son. She loved him. He was surrounded with love. At her funeral, he said, why did all these people come to see her? All she did was die. I'm the cute one. That's what he said at his mother's funeral. He was diagnosed with complicated grief issues, and I had never heard of that term before. So we were doing a therapy session. The therapist, I was working with Deborah Haig at the time, she had him up in her arms, and he was like, pouring, and I'm joining him. His mother died, and he's screaming, and I'm just like feeling empathy and pain for my son. And she does this whole hour or 2 long, help him deal with the pain. And then she's driving home back to Silverthorne, and I hear him playing with the dog down the hallway, making the exact same noise. I called her up, said, can you come right back, please? She pulled him up, said, what's the truth about your mom? Said, I'm glad the maggots got her. That's what he said. I'm glad the maggots got her. He said, I get what I want because my mom died. I didn't have to do schoolwork. My grandparents took me out for ice cream and movies every weekend. People feel sorry for me, and I get what I want. Yeah, all right, not anymore. Okay. Oh, you know what? He only tried to kill me twice. That's all right. So, ongoing pain. He had ear infections. They did surgery. They did all kind of antibiotics, trying to help him with the pain. But he had this pain. He called out for the pain to be taken away, that whole cycle there. And they couldn't take the pain away fast enough. And then as soon as they got the antibiotics, 10 days later, he's done with the whole medication thing, and they'd blow up again. He slept with a cat in his crib. He's highly allergic to cats. He can't even walk in a room where a cat has ever been. He can't breathe for 2 days. Never tested him for allergies, But anyway, so he had all kinds of pain. Now, every child that has an ear infection going to be a psychopath? No. No. Okay? But he didn't have the resiliency to bounce back. He just didn't. All right. So he did eventually, but in the beginning. Poor daycare. They have to bond to the daycare provider as if she is their mother or he is their father. They have to bond. If there was somebody else 8 to 9, 10 hours a day, that's the person that's developing their brain. We come home after a day of work. We've got, dinner. We got to get the laundry done. We got to feed the children, get the baths, get them to bed. There's not a whole lot of time to do the bonding stuff. I mean, feeding them is certainly part of bonding, but when we're born, we have billions of brain cells, okay? It's more than the stars in the sky. I don't know, last night we had a full moon, but where I live, there's no light pollution. So you can see the Milky Way sometimes. I mean, it's incredible how many stars we have. We have more brain cells than that. But when we're born, not all the cables are laid down from one cell to another. Some are, so we can breathe and eat stuff. but not all of them, most of them even. So during the first year of life, one cell will send a cable out, another cell will send a cable out. I've seen film of it, it's amazing. And those cables aim right at the ends of another cable like this, and they intertwine and they lay there and wait for a stimulus to occur that's going to make it live. So it's like, if you plug in your cell phone, you have that cord, but there's no AC DC current going on in there until you plug it in. It's just a cord. Those cables lay there and wait for the electrical current to go through there once, and then it's alive. What makes the electrical current go through there? Eyes filled with love. Looking in the baby's eyes sends electrical current through certain parts of the brain. Touch, especially skin to skin touch, sends electrical current through a whole lot of parts of the brain. Movement, whether we're rocking them this way or bouncing them that way, activate different areas of the brain. The female voice, when we talk to babies as females, our pitch goes up instinctively. Oh, you're so cute. Oh, you're the cutest little thing. I mean, we just do that. Why? It activates a part of the brain that a male voice cannot activate. When a father talks to his child, all right, hurry up and grow so we can play ball, all right, that activates a different part of the brain than the female voice. So when we're holding and rocking and loving up our babies, it is like the 4th of July going off on in the brain. All these electrical currents shooting through different areas of the brain, lighting up, making those cables live. The first year of life, over 1 million cables are laid down every hour. Whether they're with a loving mom, an abusive mom, a daycare mom, a foster mom, an adoptive mom, whatever mom they have, okay? And like I said, I've had some dads that were amazing moms. When I use the term mom, I don't mean male or female. I mean the primary caregiver, okay? The one who's feeding that baby and changing them and taking care of them most of the time. All right, so over 1 million cables every hour. Daycare providers like, I'm just supposed to keep them clean and fed and safe till mom comes home, and then she's going to activate those cables. Really? She's going to activate the 8 million cables that she missed while she was gone all day with just 2 hours to do it? I don't know how that's done. A great daycare provider is going to hold and rock and love that baby as if it's her own. How many of those do we have? In the research study they did with over 10,000 children, they found 8.5% of daycare providers are doing a great job. So if you interview 100 people, 8.5 of them can handle taking care of a baby under 3 years old. Okay, so that brain keeps putting those cables out first 3 years, like unbelievable rates. And then it starts to slow down. But the brain keeps adding cables. So we're about 10. Okay, it's still adding them after that. But at 10, things start changing. The brain starts trimming, pruning away cables that have never been activated. Like you trim your fruit trees or your orchard, your grapevines. You trim them and get rid of the dead branches. Those are not working, we get rid of them. So it's easier to help a child before they're about 10 years old because the brain's much more malleable. Before 3, they're a whole lot easier. I've got a bunch of sheets back there for the toddler program that we do, which we don't do at camp, okay? At camp, it's designed for 5 to about 13, 14-year-olds. One of the camps that we're coming up to do, there's a 17-year-old that's coming, which we've only done like, I think, 2 17-year-olds in all the years. But she said emotionally she's about 12. So we feel like it would still be a good fit, and she's not physically aggressive and violent. So I don't want a big violent 17-year-old scaring the 5 and 6-year-olds at camp. We don't have that. If we have an aggressive 6 or 7-year-old, they can scare the 17-year-olds. That's fine, but no. So anyway, it's a lot easier to mold the brain. It's called plastic because it's so malleable before they're 3, because it's growing and developing so quickly. Then, like I said, between 10 and 12, there's this whole pruning away process where it's harder. Their brain's more set. They're, all these years of doing it a certain way. Now we're saying now you got to think and feel and act differently. And they're like, oh, this is hard. All right, so between 10 and 12, then somewhere around in there, neurotypical children start having hormones. Adopted children have them much younger if there's a male in the environment, because they found pheromones are a smell that we put out that our brain smells but our nose doesn't. And when there's a male who is not their birth father, female hormones kick in much earlier, like 7 and 8 years old. They're starting to have their cycle, which is a real barrel of laughs with a child with RAD. Oh, you can't even wipe when they use the toilet. Trying to keep that clean every month is unbelievable disaster, but it's happening all the time. Anyway, so we get the hormones dumped in there. Oh, it's like kerosene on a fire. Unbelievable changes go on, and the aggression level goes up, and the hormones swing, and they don't know if they're mad, sad, glad, or scared because the hormones are going wild. They don't make a whole lot of sense. It takes over a year for the hormones to settle down in their system, but the hormones start saying, leave your family and reproduce. And we're saying, stay home, no reproductive activities, okay? And when I'm talking and the children are in the room, I say it like that because it goes mostly, I don't say sex because they know exactly what that is. And I don't want to encourage anything. So, but when their brain starts saying leave and go and do that, if we haven't gotten in there to get the attachment to where our voice is in their head saying what's right, what's wrong, all those things in there, you can't override that. And you've got a battle. They're running away. They're doing, trying to get to the neighborhood, other children. All right, so hormones make it harder. Is it too late? No. Then at 15, they used to say 15, if they're 15, it's too late. There is no way to save them. I am Irish and German. You cannot get more stubborn than an Irish-German genetic combination, I don't think. I don't know. But I'm stubborn. And you tell me you can't? And I'm like, yeah, stand back. So I said, Lord, I want a 15-year-old. He says, I can make that happen for you, Nancy Thomas. So this 15-year-old beat her mom up, and mom was bruised head to toe, chunks of hair ripped out, 250 pounds of fury. I'm like, my kind of kid. And mom says, I quit. I've done everything. I took her on vacation. I painted her room. I bought her cute clothes. Look what she did to me. I quit. And I felt it. Lord just opens my heart, pours a kid in. I'm like, oh man, the cowboy's going to kill me. So I went home. I said, honey, there's this 15-year-old. And she is a mess. And they're going to send her to a residential treatment center in California. And the research that the Casey Foundation and Karen Purvis did on the treatment centers in California, foster care and residential treatment programs, when the children are cut loose at 18, within 6 months, was some huge number, I can't remember exactly, it's somewhere around 85%, are either dead or in jail. Really low success rate with the program there. They give them an allowance. Each child is given money every week to spend. They have to have a cell phone. Have to have a cell phone. In case they can't get to the porn with another way. They've got to have that. Yeah, I mean, you cannot take television away from a child in California. It's child abuse. Anyways, they're going to send this girl there. This is a death sentence. So I went to the cowboy. I said, hey, this little girl. He said, well, where else are they going to send her? I'm like, I knew you would say that. Thank you. So we got a little Connie, little tiny Connie. And I always said, you know what? I don't take children that are older than my birth children or that weigh more than me. I had to eat a lot of chocolate. It was for a good cause. She and I went on a diet together at one point. Anyway, actually, she last year reached 500 pounds, and she has now peeled off 250 pounds. And I was like, score, what are you doing? Because I'm failing at mine. Yeah, she's really doing a great job. But the terrible sexual abuse a lot of our children go through, they just insulate their body away from, don't touch me. You can't reach me because I've got all this insulation, So anyway, Connie's so amazing. I love her so much, and she loves me. A couple of years ago, she called me up. She said, Mom, we're getting money back from our income tax. I said, score. What are you going to do with it? She said, well, my husband and I are going to split it. he's going to take half and buy whatever he wants, and I'm going to buy whatever I want. I said, cool, what are you going to get? She said, I want you. I said, well, you can't buy me. I'm your mother. She said, no, I want to buy you a ticket to come and stay with me for a week. Score, I'm coming. You buy the ticket, I'll be there. So we just baked and laughed and talked and carried on all day. And we just had a great, great time. Does she love me 100%? Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? When she first came, I said, you know what, Connie? I love you. I love you. Could she believe me? I was her 9th mother. Has she heard that one before? Yeah. I said, you know what? I'm your real mom. Real moms don't give up on their children. I will stick. You're not going to believe me till you bring your children home to visit grandma, but I'm telling you right now, I don't quit. And you know what? My chiropractor really probably needed that new car I paid for. I took a few hits from that one. But anyway, yeah, she made it. Is she perfect? No. But with bipolar disorder and RAD, the extreme violent mood swings that went with that, she's never been in jail. She doesn't hurt anybody. She doesn't drink. She's not doing drugs. She's raising her 2 children, the first in the last 3 generations, raising her own children. They were all in foster care. We broke that cycle because she wasn't in foster care in California. My baby. All right. So, poor daycare, poor parenting. We're told not to pick up our babies. It'll spoil them. Dr. Harvey Karp from Harvard found out it's exactly the opposite of that. He said there's 4 trimesters to pregnancy. First 3 are in the womb. 4th one's outside the womb. We're like kangaroos. We're supposed to go in a pouch up against mom or dad's heart so that we're regulating their temperature, their heartbeat. They've got all that passive movement for all those weeks after they're born. They're not supposed to be laid down. Well, it's a trimester, so 3 months. Yeah, 3 months. That's right. How many weeks is 3 months? 12, right? All right. Repeated moves. Every time they're moved from one family to another, it breaks their heart. I had a little boy 45 times. 45 moves. California. Nobody could handle him, so he'd be there for a few weeks and they'd move him. Oh, he was barrel laughs. And you know what? His mother's a medical doctor today, and her focus is on helping these children. He touched her life, even though he ripped her to pieces for years. He touched her life enough to where she's touching thousands and helping. Yeah. All right, repeated moves. So our children have been through too much. Their little hearts are broken. We've got some work to do to get it moving forward. Advance for, there we go. 2nd year cycle, child wants something. Many of our children are stuck in this cycle, what they want, what they want, what they want. Then the parent gives optimal frustration with an appropriate no. And I teach parents to say no. I say, okay, everybody, let me hear you. Say no.
No.
Yeah, see, there you have it. Some parents go, no. And the child like, oh. And some parents are like, no. Which sounds like, maybe. Right. We just say no. But a lot of parents in the United States say no, honey, because and the child forgets what the answer was, but we just gave them a whole lot of material to argue with. I just say no. And what does a child with reactive attachment disorder say when you say no? Absolutely, every single time. And that's an excellent question. Are they trying to gather information so they have a deeper understanding of the world? No. It's why do you think you have the authority to tell me what to do? So are we going to answer that, which means it was okay to challenge your position as leader of the family? No, I'm not going to answer it. I say, you know what? That's a good question. You tell me why I said no. Because you're the meanest mother in the universe. What other reason could it be? And we keep working on it till they have a rational reason. Because I've been terrible all day and I'm not strong enough to handle it. That's pretty close. I'll go for that one. Our kids, they're so consistent. All right, so parent gives acceptance of parental requests. Okay, what we do with these children, because they're not 1-year-olds moving toward their 2nd year of life, okay, when they should have had, they handle no and we let them have more freedom. Okay, these kids are already way more freedom than they have. We pull them back in. We make their world small. Connie was in 6 feet of me most of the time, 3 feet. I found when she went to blow up, the closer she was, the less room she had to swing back and hit me hard. At 6 feet, she could get a pretty good swing on. At 3 feet, it didn't hurt so bad. I kept her within 3. I had a little teeny kitchen at that point, and we would work side by side, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And she got so good at it, I'd start to do something, and she knew I needed a fork over there, so and we just work like that, right next to me. We ate together, we worked together, we played together. She was glued here. Her world was, she didn't go to school, she didn't go with friends, she didn't go to the mall. No ballet, tuba, soccer, youth group, 4-H. I believe in those programs when our children are healthy. Her world was right here next to me. And we learned to move together. It was like a dance as we moved through the day. And she learned to move with me. And when she was having a mood swing, she got pretty good at it. With the bipolar, I hadn't had a child with rad and bipolar before. And she could tell when she was going to have a mood swing after a little bit. She got in touch with herself enough. I said, well, why don't you try, when you feel like one is coming on, go to your room and you have some books, or you can scream and yell or punch stuff or whatever works for you. And I won't bother you. I won't open the door, but I'll put food if it's a meal time and let you know there's food out here so that, you know, you've got that. And then when you're done with your mood swing, you can come out. Then I called her my werewolf. Because it's like the full moon came out and she would turn into a werewolf. And she'd be in there, and then she'd come out. How was it? It was a hard one, Mom. Oh, sorry, sweetheart. But it worked. So she knew she was going to have a swing, and she'd go in there, and she married a great man who knew she was going to have a swing, and, you know, loved her through it. We pray hard enough to get a good spouse. So I keep them in really, really close. I put them with the Legos, with the beach towel. They build with the Legos. She was 15, so she did it at the table. Legos rebuild the cause and effect part of the brain so that normal parenting has a chance to work. The love and logic parenting, so outstanding. It's the gold standard of parenting for a neurotypical child. Totally useless for our children. It can't work because the cause and effect part of their brain's not working. Right? Once we get that going, then it certainly can. We move them to that. So in the beginning, I want them doing Legos. It builds the brain. They build a centerpiece for our meal. Martha Stewart has nothing on my table decorations. They're all original art. So they do Legos. They do art. So I had a little art table in the corner of the living room, and every morning before I got the children up, I'd get the art material out, whether we were going to do clay or watercolors or markers or whatever it was for the day. And when they got finished with Legos, then they went to art. Then I had a chair where they would sit and look at books. And they were books that I had read. They didn't read Harry Potter and the Vampire series and How to Murder Your Mother and 50 Shades of Grey and whatever else is out there. They don't read that stuff, okay? They read about good people who have done good things. Harriet Tubman, Abraham Lincoln, you know, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, great people who have done great things. That's what my children read about. Louis Pasteur. All right, so gotta have some French in there. Favorite French lady. All right, so they read, they did Legos, they did art, and they jumped on the mini tramp. We also went for a walk every day. Vitamin D is so important for mood swings and sleep, and so important. You know, the alcohol rate and the suicide rate in our country is higher in Alaska than anywhere else in the United States. Why? Short nights, short days. Yeah, not enough vitamin D. And when they're out, they're covered. Well, in Colorado, all winter, we're covered. We don't go out and hang our skin out there. Here, make some vitamin D. I did. I made vitamin D. Did you see me making that vitamin D? I was good at it. I still remember how. So our children have to get out. They have to get some fresh air and sunshine. And some of our children, they need manure therapy. And they let you know if they need manure therapy by saying, shit. That means, could I please clean the barn? Of course, sweetheart. We can take care of that. So my children got fresh air and sunshine doing manure therapy when they were calling for it. We had a little guy who came to camp. I got a letter from his dad, an email from his dad just a couple weeks ago, but he came to camp. He said S-H-I-T to his dad. I'm like, oh, score. I was saving that barn. I was waiting for a child to do that. So I had 2 team members. Karen Poitras was one of them. Took lawn chairs and water bottles, one for each of the 2 ladies and one for him. And they took him out to my husband takes the tractor and moves the manure into a huge pile. And then we compost it and we move it to the garden. So it's time for it to be moved to the garden. City kid, never used a wheelbarrow before. Okay. Those are, you got to have some skills there. Okay. So he parks the wheelbarrow over there and he takes the shovel over here to the pile and gets a shovel full and walks over here and dumps it in the wheelbarrow. Now, what would an untrained parent do right then and say? Absolutely. My team's better than that. They know better. They're just sitting there. I bet you 2 chocolates, it's 15 shovelfuls. How many shovelfuls are you going for? So he's doing that, loads the wheelbarrow all the way, 2 full on one side. Okay, and then he goes to pick it up. It's got 1 wheel in the front, it's loaded unevenly. What's going to happen? Oh, yeah. Woo! And there was that word right out of his mouth again. We all agreed with him. Yes, it is. So they said, it's okay. You can fill it again. Oh! So he fills it and he does a much better job of it. And he gets it all the way to the garden and he comes back. And he wheels it over to the pile. And he fills it pretty well. He only had to do 3 wheelbarrows. You know, it took him all afternoon. So he gets finished. He has a single dad. Really great man. He goes to his dad and he says, Dad, this is what happened. Gets his hug. I'm sure he smelled really good for that hug. He said, may I please do this to make it up to you? And he offered something. His dad was okay with that. And he said, Dad, would you please come out to the manure pile? Let me show you what I learned. This great loving dad goes, sure, son. Anybody else would go, I don't think so. So, come on, Dad, let me show you. So he goes, you know what? If you put the wheelbarrow right next to the pile, it's a lot faster. And then when you fill it, you got to fill it like this or it dumps over. And then you got to pick it up again. And he was so proud of himself. I am capable. If the team said, you know, you're so stupid, we have to tell you to move the wheelbarrow because you're dumber than a rock, how could he believe in himself? And parents do it all the time. I let my children struggle. I let them struggle. They learn from those struggles and they move forward. My Beth is an award-winning nurse, okay? When she was up for this national award, she was on the cover of a magazine. That makes my daughter a cover girl. All of the other nurses in the competition that were like top runners were silver-haired nurses. She had 5 years of nursing. She didn't have silver hair yet. She was there on the cover, and she won it. Why? Because she believes in her ability. She knows how to problem solve. She knows how to do A+. Because I don't put up with nonsense, all right? My daughter, Tarina, was Entrepreneur of the Year for the entire state of Colorado when she was 23 years old. She's a multi-million-dollar business she runs. She bought a huge, beautiful ranch. I mean, yeah, my son, Arby, my oldest son, went from being a private in the Marine Corps to lieutenant colonel, retired from the Marine Corps, and became head of security at Disney. He says, Mom, this is my dream job. And he would call me, he says, I'm having lunch with Annie. I said, oh, who's Annie? The aardvark. I just love her. I have my lunch over here by her. Like, score. I go visit him. We got free tickets to get into Disney to eat whatever we want. I'm like, score, you know. Anyway, our children, they can do it. We just need to let them struggle, let them figure it out. Of course, we help them, especially if it's life and death. We don't want them to learn not to run into oncoming traffic by whoop. Should have figured that out sooner. That's not good parenting, okay? But sometimes they got to wash the dishes 50 times first before they figure soap and a little elbow grease is more effective. But we're always like, you need to wash these first, then then wash the. We had a dishwasher, but we washed them by hand. It wasted a whole lot of water with the dishwasher, and I found standing next to whichever my new child was, I'm washing, they're rinsing, somebody's drying, somebody's washing pots and pans, somebody's putting food away. Everybody had a job, somebody's sweeping. They would open up. You want to talk to a teenager? You ask one question and then you shut up. They can't stand the silence. They will pretty quickly fill it, unless you fill it. So I just say, so how's it going at school? School? Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Well, there's this one girl. Pretty soon they're like, and then when I'm talking to a teacher, I ask one question, and then I go, oh, oh, and I get done, and they say, Mom, I love talking to you. I love talking to you too, sweetheart. I didn't say anything except one question. What do I want to say? Well, have you tried this? Well, have you tried that? Well, you know what? If you do it this way, don't do it. All right, now a teenager. All right, so child wants, we set optimal frustration, which in our children is a whole lot of no in the beginning. And when they stop fussing about us saying no and just accept it, because I'll say, they say, can I go play at the neighbor's house? No. Oh, all right. You know what, sweetheart? I just changed my mind. You may. What? Yes, you're strong enough now. You may, as long as I can see you right there. You can go for 15 minutes. Give it a try. I think you're strong enough. I am? Yeah. A little boy they gave me because he loved fire. He'd been sexually abused, and we didn't know it, and I didn't know at that point. That was a huge sign. So he'd burned down a couple buildings, so they gave him to me because nobody else will take a fire starter. It's a huge insurance risk. And we heat our house with wood, so we have a lot of fire. So I said, I understand you like fire. He says, I said, so your chore in the morning is to build a fire in the wood stove because we need to heat the house up. It gets cold in the morning. You build a fire and then I'll check it and I'll light it. And if it goes, then you got an A+. If it goes out, you didn't build it right. So morning after morning, he's building a fire and I'd light it. And it was about, 6, 7 months later, he'd worked with a lot of good, clean out in therapy and stuff. And he built the fire and he was doing his ready sitting for me to check it. And I came, I said, that looks pretty good. Go ahead and get the lighter off the top of the fridge and light it. Then I walked away and he was like, comes in like this. And he looks at me. I smiled at him. I kept it on the top of the refrigerator so I could always see it, and it wasn't easy to get, but it was easy. It wasn't hidden. It was where he could get it. So he got it. He looks at me again. I just smiled, and he goes back. He lights it. I came in and said, well, hey, it looks like you got it going really well. Did you really want for me to light it? I said, absolutely. You got over your fire problem. I did? Oh, good. Yes, you did. Oh, I'm so glad. I didn't know if I would ever get over it. I said, yeah, you got over it now. And that was the end of it. Okay, but he had to have great therapy. It wasn't just because he was building a fire and I was doing a good parenting piece. Okay, so.